Your husband is emotionally abusive. He's not working on it. He doesn't intend to. Just leave him.
Okay.
Hello, this is Dan and Margie, the Gen-Xers, and we're here to review Shrinking, but first, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you.
Good, yep. Yes, please. We are here to talk about Shrinking. It's a new Apple original show that we are crazy about. We're wild about this show. I wrote a little introduction to just kind of tell you a little bit about it. We're not going to give you any spoilers at all, but just a brief summary. The creators, Brett Goldstein, Bill Lawrence, and Jason Segel.
Bill Goldberg from wrestling, WCW?
Yes. Yeah, he co-wrote it as well. It stars Jason Segel as Jimmy, Jessica Williams as Gabby, love her, and Harrison Ford as Paul, love all these guys. They are a trio of therapists who are all kinds of messed up guys. They're way messed up. Jimmy is grieving his wife 1 year after her death by neglecting his daughter. Gabby is divorcing with hookers and drugs, basically. Gabby is divorcing her newly sober but depressed husband. And Paul has Parkinson's and will not tell his daughter that he has Parkinson's. He's keeping that from her. So you have this crew, but then you add all their neighbors, their friends, their family, who are all kinds of messed up as well.
And there's so many quote-unquote minor or smaller characters that you're gonna know. They're already pretty famous, but I mean, maybe the script was so good they were just like, yeah, I gotta be in on this. Like Heidi Gardner, for example, from SNL.
Ted McGinley.
Ted McGinley from every 80s sitcom ever. He was the guy that they would always bring in at the end of a dying sitcom to give it enough boost for a couple more years. And he would do it. It always worked.
He was, for those of you who may not know who he is, you might know the reference that he was in Revenge of the Nerds as the head jock.
If you know that, you probably already know who Ted McGinley is. How are we going to explain it to these young folks who he is?
Go Google him or Wikipedia him or something. He's great.
True.
He is the not the smarmiest, he's the snarkiest SOB you'll ever love in this series. He's just very lovable and very snarky.
Well, he's always kind of played the snarky guy in a lot of things. In this, that does come through a little bit, but he just seems like the laid-back guy when everybody else is always so stressed out. He's just like, just walking my dog, just doing this and that, but...
Right back at you.
But you mentioned the cast. Everyone is so good. I've been a fan of Jason Segel and pretty much everyone from that show since Freaks and Geeks. Harrison Ford just seems like he's having a blast, right?
I feel like I'm seeing Harrison Ford for the first time.
He is so funny. I like his comedic timing. I just surprised. I mean, he's a good actor, of course. I'm just so surprised how funny he actually is.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if he didn't get whatever awards they give to these shows. Which ones is it?
Emmys or Golden
Give that man an Emmy.
Globes.
And a Golden Globe.
Yeah. And a Tony Award
Give him
as
an Oscar.
well.
Give him an EGOT.
Give him a Grammy.
Oh, and you mentioned Michelle Williams. So funny. I mean...
Jessica Williams.
Yes.
Jessica Williams.
So funny.
I really want to see more of her. She is absolutely my favorite character on that show. And I hadn't seen her since The Daily Show when she was a correspondent on there. And I want to know why. Why not?
Me too. Yeah. Well, she's on this show now, so maybe it's fortuitous because this thing is great. And I feel like they give the actors a lot of room to improvise. Maybe at least it feels that way. And some of her scenes with her and Jason Segel, or her and anyone, are just they feel so spontaneous and hilarious.
They feel spontaneous, very organic, but also very over the top. She can act. She can act, yeah. I mean, the show is over the top. There are very real parts of it, but it tends to be over the top. But it's a fantastic show.
It's by roughly, I guess, the same crew that do Ted Lasso. I think you mentioned Bill Lawrence, right? Is that his name? And Scrubs. Both of which I was always a huge fan of Scrubs, and Ted Lasso I love. And I think what I like most about this show, is, other than it's hilarious, and I love comedy, is it is serious. It is an adult show. It's not for kids, but it's ultimately optimistic and not grim and dour and, oh, we're all gonna, everything's horrible.
Right.
Like, these people have real problems, but they're trying their best to get through, right?
I love that it shows such just a wacky crew of people. And I love that the show just runs the gamut from the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, you're gonna have, I mean, you heard all of their problems. They're deeply serious problems. But the show pokes fun at all of it because ultimately life is really, really funny.
Yeah.
It just is.
If you're tired of the grim stuff, which I am, and I know a lot of it's good, like you're watching The Last of Us, and I played that video game enough to know what goes on. This is a good alternative to that. That's also very good, and also it feels like you're watching, you know, a show for adults and not one for kids or preteens, right?
Yeah, if you find yourself on the sofa rocking back and forth after watching an episode of The Last of Us, you can unwind and maybe lift your spirit a little by watching Shrinking.
I feel like we might finally be moving away from that idea that super depressing makes great art, because Everything Everywhere All at Once won for the Oscar this year, Ted Lasso and all kinds of shows.
Let's get back on the upswing.
You can be
Let's
serious and still not be doom and gloom.
Yeah, guys. Do it.
Goodbye.
And also, hit like and subscribe.
Please hit
because
like and subscribe.
That would make us happy.